Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
We're anticipating a Category 1 hurricane at landfall.
Louisiana braces for a powerful punch from Mother Nature.
What I really think this is really just an increase in our ability to forecast.
A new age in the forecasting of our most feared storms.
This needs to change, and it's not going to change unless we do something about it.
A Louisiana teenager joins a nationwide movement to end senseless gun violence. Hi everyone, I'm Andre Moreau. My partner Natasha Williams is off tonight. Louisiana is now under threat with the advance of what's expected by landfall to be Hurricane Barry. That's our top story this Friday, July 12th, on this week's edition of SWI. Hurricane warnings and watches are in effect for coastal Louisiana. You see the warnings there. There are also tropical storm warnings, which include Lake Pontchartrain and Maurepas and metropolitan New Orleans. The weather system that is now Barry began over the state of Georgia, moved south into the northern Gulf, began to develop as it lumbered westward, and then overnight gained strength. The turn to the northwest and north that's been forecast is happening, and Barry is expected to make landfall near Morgan City Saturday morning as a Category 1 hurricane with winds of at least 74 miles per hour. The anticipated rain associated with Barry is the big news. Epic rain measuring 1 to 2 feet in some areas is forecast, flooding that could be life-threatening. There are mandatory evacuations in some places. Those mandatory include Plaquemines and Jefferson Parish, and there are also voluntary evacuations in Vermilion and Lafourche Parish, voluntary evacuations, and 5 parishes have been made emergency declarations: St. Bernard, Plaquemines, Jefferson, St. Charles, and Terrebonne. Governor John Bel Edwards by midweek declared a state of emergency for all of Louisiana. Let's listen in now to his latest emergency briefing earlier today at GOHSEP, the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness.
We are looking at 10 to 20 inches of rain, with some areas possibly receiving 25 inches, depending upon the storm track. And as you know, these rain bands, we don't know exactly how far out they're going to spread. We don't know the intervals between periods of heavy rain. We don't know whether there's going to be time for some of the rain to drain, and so we really have to be extremely prepared for a very major rain event across much of Louisiana. We do have an updated evacuation, and that is Lower Lafourche down around Port Fourchon. That is a mandatory evacuation. There remains mandatory evacuations in Jefferson Parish, the town of Grand Isle, lower lying Lafitte, Crown Point, and Barataria. Also in Plaquemines Parish, the entire East Bank remains under mandatory evacuation. And on the West Bank, Oakville to Venice is under mandatory evacuation. We also have now, as of about 45 minutes ago, at least that's when we learned of it, there's a voluntary evacuation for the entire parish of St. Mary, starting at noon today. As we speak, the jail at St. Mary Parish is in the process of evacuating, and those inmates will be evacuating to Angola. For the first time in history, all floodgates on the Mississippi River, or I should say within the hurricane risk reduction system in the New Orleans area, are sealed off with those floodgates being closed. And one of the speakers who will come behind me shortly will be Chip Klein, the chairman of the CPRA, and he will give you all more information on that. The forecast for the Mississippi River in New Orleans remains at 19 feet at the Carrollton gauge. That's the same as it was yesterday. It remains the case that we do not expect any overtopping of the levees along the Mississippi River. And so that remains good news. We do expect to have to conduct search and rescue missions. We therefore have 3,000 National Guardsmen in place with various pieces of equipment to include numerous high-water vehicles, as well as over 300 buses staged in 3 vehicle staging areas, including Zephyr Field and Lamar Dixon in Ascension Parish, and then over in Lafayette. Nobody should take this storm lightly just because it's supposed to be a Category 1 when it makes landfall. The real danger in this storm was never about the wind anyway. It's always been about the rain, and that remains a very significant threat.
And speaking of the rain, a sampling of what is expected to come. Early Wednesday, New Orleans got hammered with up to 10 inches of rain. It crippled parts of the Crescent City, as you see here. The Sewerage and Water Board reports almost all the city pumps were working, but there was too much rain, too fast, and areas flooded. There was also a tornado in the Gentilly area, no damage reported. This all, as a reminder, happened before Barry was even a tropical depression, but a feeder band that had some punch. Here now to discuss this storm is State Climatologist Barry Keim. And from the beginning, forecasters have been concerned about this tropical system. Let's talk about it from its beginning to now.
Yeah, it started off as a weak low pressure system over land. And it was over land for a number of days as they were calling this storm to actually occur. And what I really think this is really just an increase in our ability to forecast. The forecasting is getting better and better. We're ingesting more and more data, and we're just getting better at this, and that's actually a good sign for the future.
And much better at forecasting what could happen than in years past, obviously.
Exactly. I mean, I don't even remember even 10 years ago forecasting being this precise. So I was really impressed with how they pulled this off. And so far, everything's bore out just the way they said it would.
Well, let's talk about this system, and what are you seeing in it in particular that raises caution?
Well, I mean, obviously, this storm has the potential to become a hurricane. It's been intensifying. It's been a bit of an unusual storm in the way it's come together. It's encountering quite a bit of wind shear, which has really held back its development, but it's residing over incredibly warm sea surface temperatures.
Yes.
So we got one very positive factor and then a negative factor. And as a result, it's been slow to develop, but things finally starting to come together. And over the last few hours, it's really intensified. It's expected to continue to intensify overnight, and we're very likely to have a hurricane making landfall in Louisiana by morning.
And somewhere along the central coast in some area, if it holds onto its track. It, like you said, it had been going west. Finally is beginning to make that curve to the north.
Finally starting to make the curve. It looks like it'll probably make landfall near Morgan City, coming in kind of on a northwest trajectory, travel over toward New Iberia, probably just east of Lafayette, and then on up to Alexandria, and then up toward Arkansas.
This storm has 3 big threats, and rain is the chief one.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Okay, the biggest threat obviously is rain because the storm is moving so slow. And when storms move slow, they hang around and they drop a lot of rain. Fast moving storms, they're just not around long enough to produce these big rainfall totals. Right now, the Weather Prediction Center has a swath on the east side of the track with anywhere from 10 to 20 plus inches. There's even a bullseye of 20 plus inches that they're concerned about. And these rainfall totals they rival what we saw in the August 2016 event. The area may be a little smaller, the footprint, but this could create some very serious flooding issues across south central and southeastern Louisiana.
And it's causing anxiety for all those people that were flooded before that remember that. But just the anxieties that go along with the advance of this is the first tropical system of this hurricane season to affect the U.S.
Exactly, and I tell you, that brings up another whole juxtaposition that we're dealing with, and that's the Mississippi River. We have this very interesting dynamic going on. We have a very late season flood on the Mississippi River. This is really late to still be
an
dealing
enduring
with
flood too, right?
Right.
It lasted forever.
Yeah, exactly. And to have an early season hurricane approaching Louisiana and interacting with that flood, it's creating some serious headaches down in New Orleans. We're facing some things that we've never faced before. So there's a lot of learning going on the fly here.
There is wind, of course, involved here. The storm surge has been discussed, as you speak of the Mississippi River, creating a bump in terms of the river level. Is that going to be as big a problem as is being forecast?
Well, initially they were forecasting between a 3 to 5 foot surge going up the Mississippi River. It looks like it's going to be more like 3. That's a good thing. Mississippi River, a couple of days ago anyway, was at 16 feet. The levees, for the most part, are around 20, but some of them dip down even below 19. Mm-hmm. So a 5 foot rise in that level was going to flood some parts of the city. Basically, the river spilling out into some of these urban areas. Right now, with a 3 foot increase, that's probably going to be minimal to non-existent. So we're all holding our breath that that's going to hold out, but so far we look pretty good.
How will the changes since, say, Katrina, all of the infrastructure that's been built in terms of flood protection in and around New Orleans, how will that either help with this storm or make a difference?
Well, I mean, obviously a 3 to 5 foot storm surge across the most of the coastal region, that's not a big threat to most of those communities that are protected by those levees. Katrina threw bigger surges at us, and I don't anticipate any of the areas behind levees to have any serious risk here other than the Mississippi River. So it's just these coastal communities. It's these places like Grand Isle, Cocodrie, Shell Beach that are outside of the levee systems, highly vulnerable. Roads could easily go under. In fact, even a stiff south wind sometimes puts some of those roads under. So a system like this is certainly going to do it. So you don't want to be in those communities under a situation like this. It's time to get out.
And then also, because it's slow moving and producing a lot of rain expected, this is not just a coastal or just slightly into the state event. This goes far north, wherever this track goes.
Yeah, well, obviously the rain is going to follow the storm, so that's going to penetrate far off the coast. And the winds are also going to be a problem. I mean, Baton Rouge, we're expecting, even if this thing gets even if it doesn't get to hurricane strength, we're probably still going to have tropical storm force winds as far north as Baton Rouge and even points north of us.
All right, Barry, we always depend on you. Thanks so much for giving us this information as we are confronted with the first big tropical system of this hurricane system, and it happens to be named Barry.
Always a pleasure.
All right, Barry Keim, thanks much. Of course, final preparations. These all should be made now, if they haven't already, as we brace for Barry. Senator John Kennedy joins us now. Senator, you're here offering support, likely thinking ahead to perhaps other help the state might need, but also just not knowing exactly where the rain's going to hit and how bad it could be.
Well, it's coming. I mean, I was just down at the lakefront in New Orleans. You can see it and feel it, but you can smell it. I think we're as ready as we can be. The president called me about 7:30 this morning. He signed an emergency declaration. That means that all the resources of FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security are at our disposal. I was just out at the state headquarters, and FEMA's there, and Corps of Engineers, and Homeland Security. Our people, my people, your people, they're tough as a boot. We've been through this before, but at this juncture, if you're not a little bit scared,
then you may not have much of a pulse.
Yeah, you're either a fool or a liar, because every one of these things is different. And every time we get hit, it reminds me that the power of nature can humble the power of human beings anytime it wants to.
And the power of nature seems to be shifting a little bit and getting a little more serious for us now.
Based on the briefing I just got, it's the concern is water. Now,
yes,
I'm not
absolutely
minimizing the wind, but just because it's only a Category 1, forget about the categories. In some places, we're going to get 20 inches of rain. We don't know which places. And
that would be a huge concern.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if you couldn't find a body of water near you with a map. If you get 20 inches of rain over 2 days, you're likely to flood, even if you're on Pikes Peak. And that's the worry right now.
That's right.
That and the levees.
Senator, Louisiana appreciates you and your job. Thank you very
man.
much. You stay safe out there.
Thanks.
All right, Senator John Kennedy. Well, there is other news happening. Here's a look at those stories making headlines across our state. We saw the first real signs of the governor's race this week, with the first TV spots hitting the airwaves. This one, from incumbent Governor John Bel Edwards, aired first.
But under Governor Edwards' leadership, we've turned that deficit into a surplus.
The ad for one of the Republican challengers, Ralph Abraham, debuted Tuesday, and it took aim at the job done by Edwards. A committee of the Republican Governors Association financed the 30-second spot. They say it will run on broadcast and on cable television. The other Republican challenger, wealthy businessman Eddie Rispone, would not say when his spots would begin, but he's loaded up social media with spots showing him on road trips throughout the state. Rispone has bankrolled his finances himself. Right now, Edwards reports having $9.62 million in campaign finances, Rispone $9.8 million, and Abraham a little more than $1 million. October 12th is Election Day. This past Monday, Restore Louisiana began issuing checks previously denied to homeowners affected by flooding in 2016. Frustrated homeowners were prevented from tapping into recovery funds because they sought Small Business Administration loans. The SBA loans were seen as a duplication of benefits. About 230 homeowners who declined or canceled their SBA loan and accepted their grant agreement will receive the checks first. There's a dispute brewing over whether a hotel and conference center should be developed at a state park. A study paid for by the St. Tammany Parish Tourist and Convention Commission says the project should be built at Fontainebleau State Park near Mandeville. The Times-Picayune, the New Orleans Advocate reports the proposed project would offer views of Lake Pontchartrain. It is projected to generate $1.8 million in cash flow in 2021, which would be its first year. Tourist leaders in Mississippi are trying to recoup the losses of the busted July 4th holiday weekend. The toxic algae bloom hit that state hard, with all of their Gulf beaches closed for swimming. Those leaders are now urging tourists to come and enjoy their white sandy beaches, even if swimming is not allowed. It's uncertain what impact Barry will have on the algae, which spread east into the Gulf waters from Lake Pontchartrain and the Mississippi Sound. Louisiana had advisories for some beach locations, but only one in Lake Charles was off limits to swimming. An audit of the town of Newellton in Tensas Parish turned up a big problem. It found they'd drastically outspent their revenues in the past 4 years, averaging $187,000 in the red each year. The Monroe News-Star reports the independent audit found in the most recent fiscal year they spent $205,000 more than they had. Leaders are reportedly looking at ways to now balance their ledger. As police departments around the Pelican State work to stop what appears to be a statewide crime wave, officials in Baton Rouge say they continue to have success with a program many agencies around the country use to solve crimes. Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul says without it, some crimes might never be solved.
Crime Stoppers has a brand in this community, and for years, when we look at the number of cases that were solved from people calling Crime Stoppers because they wish to remain anonymous, and it's that ability to remain anonymous why people call. I haven't been made aware of any issues with someone calling Crime Stoppers, but there are other avenues. You can call our detectives. Anybody can pick up the phone and call us and say, hey, I have information and I wish to remain anonymous.
If you have information on a crime, you can call Crime Stoppers at 225-344-STOP. And again, you will remain anonymous and you could receive a cash reward. Over a year ago, a school shooting in Parkland, Florida ignited a movement of young people like no other before. The movement aims squarely at reducing the senseless gun violence that claims countless lives every day. A New Orleans teenager joined fellow teams in the fight to end everyday gun violence and has been recognized for his work with the Louisiana chapter of March for Our Lives. This is Elliot Canty's story.
18-year-old Elliot Canty is definitely not your typical teen.
I saw what happened in Parkland, Florida, and I realized that that could happen anywhere, and that does happen everywhere in America.
He and hundreds of other teens, tired of being scared and tired of reliving the horror of gun violence, especially in their schools, are leaving the sidelines and taking center stage.
This needs to change, and it's not going to change unless we do something about it.
So he did something about it, joining others in what has become a national movement to save lives and end gun violence. Canty, the co-director of March for Our Lives Louisiana, spoke at the inaugural event in New Orleans.
Since Columbine, there have been 25 fatal school shootings. When I was 11, I remember staring at the TV as they reported on the Sandy Hook mass shooting, the first school shooting I was old enough to comprehend what had occurred. I wondered to myself, how could something like this happen?
This map shows some of the targeted schools and universities, but not all of them. Each a symbol representing places where dozens of children have lost their lives. At one time, schools were seen as safe havens. But Canty says because of loose, even unrestricted gun laws, they become places where children go to learn and die.
It did strike me as, does this need to happen? Is this just the way things are? And what can we do to stop it?
He didn't have to travel far to have his own personal window to the world of violence, murder, and mayhem.
We just have so much gun violence in New Orleans, and some refer to us as the murder capital of the world. And you look on the news and you wake up in New Orleans and you see, oh, there was another shooting, oh, there was a double homicide, and you just get so amazed at how it happens so often. And it is prevalent here, and it's prevalent throughout the country.
His motivation to try to stop the violence came easy.
In Louisiana, the legislature has passed in the 1980s a Preemption Act, which prevents New Orleans from making its own gun laws different from the state.
And because of that, people were able to buy guns more freely, things like that. So you felt that you had to start lobbying for change.
Yes.
Canty says Louisiana politicians are partly to blame. He says they've chosen to support the NRA instead of the safety of their constituents.
Because we don't have the money that the National Rifle Association does, they are able to drown out our votes in an election cycle. So they are able to give money to candidates so that they don't obviously support gun control. For example, Bill Cassidy is the 10th ranking member who has taken National Rifle Association money with $2.8 million. Our other senator, John Kennedy, has taken $215,000. And this money, that's not money representing us. That's money representing the gun manufacturers and the gun lobby.
So Canty and other Louisiana teens who've just turned 18 are using their voices and their vote to speak out about the deadly attacks targeting them.
We as people need to lobby to tell them, we are your boss. We are your constituents. You need to listen to us, not to the gun lobby, not to the gun manufacturers. You need to start enacting change. You need to start supporting policies that we support.
He says his goal is to reach as many people as possible, giving them the information necessary to stand up and push for potential life-saving changes. At this town hall in New Orleans, Canty joined survivors of the Parkland, Florida massacre to encourage others to take a stand. His efforts to bring attention to gun violence in his community and help in mobilizing his generation to take advantage of their political power earned him a trip to the nation's capital as a Giffords Courage Fellowship recipient.
I got it, and I was just so ecstatic, and seeing the other people who got it and seeing their accomplishments as well, it's absolutely amazing.
The anti-gun program named for Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, who was a target of a gunman shot several times outside a supermarket in Tucson, Arizona, back in 2011. 6 people died, including a judge and this 9-year-old girl. Canty is one of 14 student leaders chosen for the 3-day team building and organizing workshop in Washington. He's excited to be in the heart of the gun violence prevention discussion.
The national attention is what we need, especially in news cycles where shootings are just, oh, it goes over once and nothing happens. Politicians offer thoughts and prayers, and that just gets them through the news cycle. Instead of enacting real change, we need to, on a national level, show that we support these gun laws, and we need these gun laws because we're not going to be safe without them. It's not just going to disappear, and it shouldn't be something that's in everyday life. And without national attention, nothing's going to get done.
Canty wants to help students not worry about gun violence in their classroom. He wants them to be able to focus on their friends, their grades, normal kid stuff.
Thinking about it just makes me nervous, and thinking about being in a classroom and just being helpless. It is scary, and especially while I was in school, it's thinking, is this the class I'm going to be in when I die? Am I going to leave here in a body bag? I've talked with a lot of people who they're fearful of going to school. And in the United States of America, that shouldn't exist.
And until school shootings become a history lesson of our troubled past, Canty will continue his message of hope for the future, squarely focusing on gun reform laws. He says he plans to ask others who think like him to hit politicians where it counts, the ballot box.
So what we need to do is have a massive voter turnout to elect politicians who are going to let New Orleans choose its gun laws that it thinks will be necessary.
That fine report from our Natasha Williams. Elliot Canty heads to college in the fall and then plans to stay active in the gun law reform movement. And everyone, that is our show for this week. Remember, you can watch us and everything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our brand new app. Download it for free from your app store. This upgraded version features news and public affairs, documentaries, how-tos, and many more programs. And also, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For all of us at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Moreau. Stay very safe out there. Thanks for watching, and until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.